Hello and welcome to another edition of My First Concert. I'm Mark Houston along with Andy Young. And it was about 5 years ago I was doing my radio show up at the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally at Rally Point. And as I was there, I noticed that a band was getting set up on stage to perform. And enjoying live music of almost any sort, I got kind of excited as to who I was going to see. Never heard of these guys. They were called the Eskimo Brothers, three-piece band, a bass player, guitar player, and drummer, and that was it, stand-up bass player. And once they started, I'm pretty sure I missed 90 minutes of my radio show because I was totally wrapped up in what they were doing. Kind of a honky-tonk, rockabilly flavor. The charismatic lead singer, David Graham, just put you right in the palm of his hand as they were performing. And over the years, they've had a standing invitation to return to the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, and they've shown up every single year. They work their ass off when they perform for you, and it's one of the highlights for the motorcycle rally, one you should never miss. And that's why I get very excited when I know I'm about to interview David, and that's who we're going to be talking with right now on My First Concerts, David Graham of the Eskimo Brothers. Great to talk to you again, buddy.
What's up, Mark?
How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man.
Good.
Everything's good, man. Yeah, thanks for agreeing to do this. We're pumped.
Thanks for thinking of me.
For sure.
Yeah, we just talked with. We've got we're warm.
Ambience, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We just talked to Daniel Donato yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was a pretty fun interview, having the whole Roberts connection with you and everything. And
oh yeah.
He's
a good dude.
That was a pretty good. Yeah. How long have you known him?
I've known Daniel since he was 14, I think, maybe younger than that. I mean, he used to busk out on the sidewalk. His old man would set him up out there, and he'd play. He might have been 12, 14, something like that. I actually used to have him. Out once a week. I had a residency at a place called Whiskey Bent. His dad would bring him down every Sunday. I think he was 14. Yeah, he'd play. He's a talented kid, man.
When stuff like that happens, David, I mean, when you come across kids like that, is there any, I mean, this is kind of a weird question really, but is there any, do you guys play off each other's talents, or do you kind of think like, God, man, that's
certainly played off his talent.
Nonsense. You're like a touchstone, I mean,
exactly.
you're like the, what's the word I'm trying to say? But it's like, you're like the standard down there,
Well, I think if nothing else, I've just lasted a long time. People come and go a lot, but this was my only option for me. So I think I've been in Nashville 16 years.
As many times, I mean, you and I have talked quite a bit, David, and I don't think I've ever asked you, your background, where you grew up, where you're from, where your roots are a little bit.
Yeah, I'm from Portland, Oregon. I'm a diehard basketball fan from there.
You just went to a game not too long ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I flew down to Orlando to visit my younger brother and dad lived down there, and we, my brother and I, grew up in Portland, so we go to games whenever we can.
I've always wanted to go to an NBA game. I've never been, but
really?
I mean, yeah,
they're a good time.
Be a blast, yeah.
When you get good seats.
It's a good time.
Yeah. So then did Oregon influence you quite a bit musically?
Yeah. It's an eclectic town. Lots of music flourishes there. Mostly my family's originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and my dad was kind of into kind of classic country music, and my mom was into rock and roll, and so I always that's where I find myself today, just kind of bouncing back and forth in that world there, trying to make sense of it all, yeah.
Did they play instruments too, David? Were they kind of musically inclined in that sense? No,
just big music fans.
Just always had a radio on somewhere or records spinning or whatever.
Yeah, always music playing.
You've said it to me a couple of times, actually, is that and I sometimes just throughout, days or weeks or months or whatever, I'll think about comments you've made when you say that there literally is nothing else you want to do other than what you're doing. And
right.
you would go 365 if you could.
Yeah.
I'm just enamored by that way of thinking about a passion that somebody has.
Yeah, I think going back to my family, it's really all I've ever wanted to do. I remember being 5 years old in kindergarten, and it's all I could think about. It's all I ever wanted to do. Like, yeah, it's literally all I've ever wanted to do.
But where did that? Do you remember going back to kindergarten and where? What was that spark then? Where did that come from?
Man, I think originally it came from maybe Elvis, and then
Well, that doesn't translate at all to what you're doing now.
yeah, a little too close sometimes.
No, in a good way. That was a compliment.
Thank you. And the Who. My mom was really into the Who and Rod Stewart and Bob Seger, and I just love that stuff. And I just once I saw the Who, I listened to it all, but then what was the name of that thing? The Kids Are All Right. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think once I saw like Pete Townsend smashing his guitar and like the whole thing, I was just like, man, that's all I've ever wanted to do since then.
I've never once seen you smash a guitar yet, though. So when do we get to see that?
Maybe a few more scotches in Sturgis, things will get wound up.
Oh, I'll bring the bottles if I'm guaranteed to see that towards the end of the night.
Yeah, my dad was the same way. I remember he always tells a story when he was teaching up at Lake Preston in South Dakota. He was like an elementary school teacher, but he had this big 5x7 foot poster of the Who that he hung up in his classroom back then.
Yeah,
so that's just the
cool.
same thing. Like that's just one of the they're like a touchstone. They're one of those musical influences that made a huge impact.
Speaking of educators, David, did you take any schooling at all?
No, it was the School of Hard Knocks, man. I just one of my dad's coworkers. I was 5 years old or 8 years old. I can't remember. It was something like that. And no, it was 8. He brought this Sears electric guitar over to the house, and I was obsessed with the guitar. And he told me if I could teach myself a song, I could have the guitar. I can remember to this day. I can smell that guitar. I know everything about it is burned in my brain. And so I sat down and taught myself the melody lick to Heartbreak Hotel from Elvis, and he gave me the guitar, and that's kind of where it started. And as I played with everybody I played with, obviously was better than me, but I had more passion than they did, and so I was always the catalyst to kind of keep. I was starting bands, and I was trying to book gigs, and so I bring these guys on, and I was always learning little bits and pieces, and then I started playing I switched to the drums when I was 13. I still play the drums to this day, but once I started playing drums, and then there was more guitar players around, I just was just like a sponge. But it always came naturally to me, just the way my hands moved. It felt natural to me a little bit. I caught on pretty quick.
I think it's so interesting that in a lot of the stories when we talk to guys like you that are so passionate about playing the guitar, that it's always at some point in your childhood there was a guitar in the house, or somebody brought a guitar, and I'm like, well, what if somebody would have brought a clarinet to your house, or what if somebody would have brought some instrument like that? Do you think that passion would have? I mean, or would you have looked at it like, give me a break? I mean, anybody that plays an instrument is amazing.
I think the danger and I was kind of a rebellious kid. I don't know if the clarinet would have struck me the same way as the guitar did.
well, I think like the way music calls people, I think your specific instrument calls you as well. Like you're you specifically, or just every musician, like you weren't supposed to just be a musician. You were supposed to be a drummer, or you were meant to be a bass player. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I definitely see that in people, and it's in their personalities. It's in their just everything about them. Like physically, it's like makes more sense if you're a guitar player because it just is right.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Is there anybody, David? I mean, you're obviously a staple in Nashville. I mean, God, you're a staple anymore. As much as you play, there's just a ton of venues right now. Or here come the Eskimo Brothers. We know exactly who these guys are.
Knock on wood, yeah.
Yeah, and we're ready to go.
That's David Graham and the Eskimo Brothers.
That's right, David Graham.
Thank you for that.
I got you.
Do you have a wish list of people you would want to play with, or are you just 100% satisfied with what you have right now?
I'm never satisfied.
Okay.
I'm always the guy that I always think it could be better. I think it could sound better, almost to a fault. Like it's hard for me to just relax and enjoy the ride sometimes. But you mean like sharing the stage with somebody?
Yeah.
Or
If you do you have anybody that you've ever been like, man, if I could step up there and we could just go back and forth for half an hour?
Andy.
Okay, so that makes it, I was just thinking, I was remembering this instance. I think it was 2 or 3 rallies ago. I can't remember, but it was the last night of the rally, and you guys are packed up. You're ready to you got a show somewhere like a state away or something the next day, and you guys are like in the van getting ready to pull out. And we stop you guys and we're like, hey, we want to get David up for just one song before the rally's over. And you came out in like this full fur coat, and it was the most fucking rock star thing that I've ever been a part of. It was so awesome.
I might have been slightly overserved too. That's probably
well, it was the last night of the rally, so that would make sense for all of us.
That's very gracious of you guys to get me up, by the way.
It's a standing invitation.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that very much. That's the thing. I've been doing my own thing for so long. It's hard for me sometimes to get up there out of my comfort zone and do something, like, because I'm not a school guy, even being in somewhere like Nashville where some of the best guitarists on the planet live in this town and they're buddies of mine, in the back of my brain, I'm always like, man, what the fuck am I doing here?
Well, that's the thing though. Like, you're not a chameleon. You're an artist. It's like you are your own identity.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because that means a lot to me. To me, I think that's all my favorite artists have always been that way.
So, do you? And speaking of Nashville, do you feel that if you could do this any place else, or is Nashville a pretty important part of what you do?
Well, right now, where I'm at now, I think I could probably go anywhere and do it. Certainly try to do it. But I think early on, when I first moved to Nashville, I think it was an important part of especially when you play roots music, that's where your fans are and your audience. And so as far as the building blocks of what I've built here, I think it was wildly important. Now I think I could probably go anywhere and do it a little bit.
Is there any place else you would like to be outside of Nashville?
Yeah, I want to. I've said it many times. I've told my wife I'd love to buy some land out where you guys are.
No kidding.
We'd love to have you.
You do know that we have November through March here, though, right, David?
Yeah, everybody.
We have this thing called an 8-month winter.
Right?
Yeah, when I've had people tell me, they're like, "Man, living in a place like Nashville where you can't go to the grocery store without getting stuck in traffic, and it didn't used to be like that, and it's become kind of a drag a little bit. And there's just so much go in this town, and then all the traveling I've been doing, I yearn for quiet, wide open spaces, And so when I do go to Sturgis, I know we're all having a good time and we're there to do work, but I've been all over the world, and South Dakota is in the Black Hills, and that whole area is like some of the prettiest country I've ever been in. And it does something to me when I'm out there. I don't want to be one of those assholes that moves into your cool place. And because I know that you guys probably, because of Sturgis, have a lot of people moving in and taking up residency, but I'm definitely one of them that would like to.
Yeah, we do vet pretty extensively, and since we've known you long enough, you automatically make like the top cut, so you're good, you're fine.
Okay, I appreciate that. So that being said, I would love to have a second place out there with some land or something. Yeah.
Part of this area too, I feel like it is turning a little bit into a place for people to make music. I think we're getting a pretty decent scene up here.
Well, you guys definitely working.
Well, and I think that, so many people when they talk about the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, everything is focused on the motorcycle part of it, obviously. Mm. But for me, who I could give a rat's ass about motorcycles at all, it is just a giant music festival for me. And that's what is just, if we could get that message out to more people, I think they would truly see the unbelievable talent that comes downtown every year. And my guys and I have talked about it many times, how not only how thankful we are that we're a part of your guys' stable of entertainment, because I know you guys have your own little inner circle thing, but to be a part of that is pretty cool because everybody's super talented. The shows are good. You guys, your business
you guys have your business tight as a whip down there, and it's
Well, I'm glad that we fooled you. You know, it's so crazy the way the universe works. I mean, we were just talking about this with Daniel yesterday about how you just have to expect things that, you know, they're meant to be almost. And the whole reason that we even connected with you was Shane goes down to Nashville to buy a bus for Judd Hoos and stumbles into Roberts. I'm assuming it was Roberts, and sees you and is just like,
it was Layla's Bluegrass Inn,
and he's just blown away, and he's like, I don't know who these guys are, but it was incredible. I'm reaching out to them. They're definitely playing the rally this year.
That's wild. 'Cause I remember that conversation because I remember how gigantic he was standing next to me.
He was on the floor below the stage, and he was still at eye level. I deal with those guys all the time.
Oh yeah. So he comes up to me after the gig and he's like, "Hey man, have you ever, thought about playing Sturgis?" And I was like, "Man, we've been trying to get into. I mean, most bands around the country are trying to get into Sturgis. That's something that everybody wants to do, but it's hard to break in there if you don't have a connection in there." And I mean, I get offers every night. Everybody's, if I had a nickel for every time
everybody owns an arena they want you to play.
Yeah. So I learned to take that with a grain of salt. But I remembered him because he was so big, and I was like, "Man, this big dude says he wants to get into Sturgis," and he did, and I'm so thankful for that because it's been something that we circle on our calendar every year. It's like we all look forward to it.
You said that you've played all over the world, like some overseas places. Where have you played overseas?
England, Finland, Latvia, Holland.
What are the reactions like to the music when you're there?
Oh man, it is like something. It's they, at least in the Scandinavian countries, they love American music. They freak out, man. It is like nothing I've ever seen.
Well, and especially your show, it's like an Americana, like they're going there for like a cultural experience. They're like, this is America. You guys are like the poster card of what American roots music would look like, And
it's like they have special Budweiser nights where everybody's drinking regular Budweiser, and then everybody's freaking out. It's just the American night over there.
They're like, these guys love Budweiser.
Yeah, and I'm
all
sure
Americans do.
And I'm sure they're not drinking it. They're holding it and like, God, this is terrible.
Easy, they're gonna sponsor this thing.
Do my kind of stuff, a little more roots based stuff. They freak out on early American culture, man. It's a thing. We're supposed to tour October, November. We're playing in Barbados, doing 2 weeks in the UK, and then we're doing 2 weeks in Belgium.
I would love to see, a show like yours played to a crowd like that. God, I think that energy would just be insane.
It was my first experience. I got off the plane. First time I played Finland. They picked me up from the plane. The band was already there, and I showed up, and there was like 5,000 people there, and they were wound up. And they didn't even give a shit who was playing. They just knew they knew that there was an American band going to play there, and it was nuts. Any
football games when you're in Europe?
No, but that's definitely on a list. I'd love to witness that.
That's got to be like a bucket list. I need to go see a Premier game someday in my life.
Oh yeah, that would definitely be on my list to check out. That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing when you see their reactions over there to that sport, man.
So kind of the point of this podcast, David, is you've been able to pinpoint that moment in your life where you knew that this was going to be the thing that you always wanted to do. But do you remember that first concert you went to that you just kind of stood there and just all the pieces then, even though you knew what you wanted to do, is like, yep, here's where it falls into place.
Yeah. And actually my first concert, what was my first concert? My first concert was Motley Crue. My mom allowed me, she drove me down there and dropped me off. And my buddy and I could not believe that we just had, she dropped us off and we had the freedom to just go into the arena. And I think, I don't remember how, 15 maybe. And I remember getting to our seats. You could smell pot in the air.
Not in Portland.
Not in Portland, yeah. And yeah. And I remember there was two young ladies in like bikinis a couple seats away, and I was just like, man, what is going on here? I've seen some amazing concerts over the years, of course, but yeah, the first one always kind of sticks with you.
That's kind of why Andy and I wanted to talk to guys like you, is because they're always, every time you have a conversation with artists or, I mean, educators, anybody in the music industry, they can always point to that one moment. They're like, this is where I stood. And I'm like, yep, I want to, this is what I want to do. The energy. We talked to the guy that runs the monument here, the Civic Center, and he said he remembered standing out next to the stage with the artist playing. And he said, I felt that. I could only imagine what that lead singer feels, because he's like, I'm the one that put this together. I'm the one that brought in the show and made it happen. And I thought that was really interesting from a perspective of, it's not just the guy with the guitar and the lead singer,
Right. Very true.
All right, I got one more weird question I want to ask. This kind of came up yesterday too, and I know you can answer this better than anybody.
Shit.
What is the deal with the song Ghost Riders in the Sky? Why is that such a popular song for guys like you in the music you play to do?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you why. And I don't, does Daniel do it now too? I think
yes.
He played it for years with Kelly. And, I shouldn't say we all, there's a small group of guitar players that kind of went to the school of Don Kelly here in Nashville.
That's exactly what he said.
Don Kelly had a long-running gig at Roberts. Just a wildly talented guy, total ball buster. Always had the best bands in town. He's had some of the best guitar players cycle through his band. It's the Ghost Riders. The Ghost Riders guitar solo thing started with Kenny Bond, who plays guitar for Marty Stewart, and he's a wicked ass guitar player and even a cooler guy. He was the originator of that, and he used to play for a gal at Tootsie's, and she wanted him to learn that song so she could have something to strum along to and give her a vocal break, I think, probably. And so Kenny started doing that. Don Kelly came over from Roberts and liked it so much that he's like, man, you got to start doing that in my show. And then so it went from Kenny Vaughn, to I can't remember the order. Brent Mason was probably before Kenny Vaughn, and then you had Red Volkart, Johnny Highland. You guys know who Johnny Highland is? Have you ever heard that cat?
Name sounds familiar. Yeah.
Johnny Highland is one of the most amazing guitar players that has cycled through Nashville, bar none. And so he was part of that, and I don't know if he did it, but certain cats along the way picked up on that and did it. J.D. Simo took that idea and took it one step further, and I think that's J.D. Simo is kind of the one that influenced Daniel Donato, myself, Luke McQuarrie, who plays there now.
Yeah. Oh my God, I saw Luke playing with you guys, and you guys did the Allman Brothers medley that you do, and it was just like chilling, like jaw-droppingly good. It was unreal.
Well, I appreciate that. I was just hanging on for goddamn dear life.
No, man, you were crushing it. It was unreal. It was unbelievable.
And Luke is a dear friend of mine, and he's probably one of my favorite guitar players in Nashville. But anyway, the story of Ghost Riders, and Porter McClister was another one, probably arguably my favorite guitar player of all time in Nashville. We've all kind of borrowed that idea. A lot of those guys stayed in Nashville, and I tour, and so I've kind of taken it on the road. And Don Kelly himself told me, he's like, man, take this out and do it on the road, man. Use it as a showpiece. And we just that group of guys kind of came from the school of Don Kelly, and I'm proud to be a part of that little circle. And that's kind of where it came from.
Well, it's definitely one of the highlights of people that have watched your show.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It's different every night, too.
Right. Right.
Well, and just like the overall theme of that song, it's just like synonymous with the tone of a Telecaster. Like you can't, you'd be wrong to play it on a Strat. You know what I mean?
Oh, it wouldn't come out right. Yeah,
it'd be blasphemy. Yeah.
So, what's the rest of your year like up to August now?
Well, we just we had 2 weeks off in January, which was the first 2 weeks I've had off in a year, and we just got done. I just had this last weekend off in February. We didn't have to travel. And I think I've got one more weekend off at the end of February, and then all hell breaks loose. And we won't stop playing until probably early December. It'll start slowing down in December. So it's going to be just balls to the wall from here on out in about 2 weeks. Yeah. So I'm just trying to get things done around my house and love on my family.
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated. Drink lots of water right now.
Start hydrating now for Sturgis. Yeah.
Well, obviously, we'll get super excited when August rolls around again. We get to see you again, buddy, because it's it's just it's a great 10 days. And again, I can't push the musical aspects enough of the rally. And if it was up to me, I'd leave the bikes at home and just come out and see the shows. So
there's a lot of people out there. Hopefully some of those folks take their experience, the music experience, and take it home with them and tell their friends.
Well, always so good to talk to you, David. I'm so glad you had a few minutes for us.
Talk to you too, Mark.
I have a whole new plan for August. I'm not going to make you drink scotch this time.
I'm a big fan of scotch now. I am.
We're going to go all bourbon this time, all right? We're going to find some I got a plan, so just be ready.
You're going to have to explain to me the difference between scotch and bourbon, but I'll be there.
I'm nerding out on that stuff, so, it'll bore the hell out of you, but you'll learn.
Bourbon comes from Kentucky, or is that whiskey?
Bourbon is all whiskey is bourbon, but not all bourbon is whiskey. Bourbon
that helps.
Bourbon has to come from the United States. Can't be made outside of the United States. Doesn't have to be made in Kentucky. Don't get me started on this, because then you'll just hang up and I'll just sit here and be talking to Andy the whole time. So, looking forward to August, buddy. Can't wait to see you then, man.
Man, I'm looking forward to it too, man. And I appreciate you guys thinking of me and taking the time to get me on.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad you agreed to do it.
Thank you, David.
Anytime, guys.
Take care, buddy.
Thanks, dude.
All right, guys. See ya.